hard to achieve financial freedom. Recently, you probably have noticed the boom of self-made millionaires. So you are now working on your side hustle or startup. But the question is, what are your chances of success? Are you a victim of survivorship bias? Hello, and welcome to a new episode. You are watching Photinium. In fact, you are not alone in this journey. Many people these days are working on their own businesses. Google Trends is showing an increasing interest in passive income, e-commerce, drop shipping and affiliate marketing and many other side hustles. Nevertheless, the hard truth is there is only 20% success rate. Rolf Dobelli said you come across survivorship bias when dealing with money and risk. Imagine that a friend founds a startup. You belong to the circle of potential investors and you sense a real opportunity. This could be the next Google. Maybe you'll be lucky. But what is the reality? The most likely scenario is that the company will not even make it off the starting line. The second most likely outcome is that it will go bankrupt within 3 years. Of the companies that survive these first 3 years, most never grow to more than 10 employees. So, should you never put your hard-earned money at risk? Not necessarily. But you should recognize that the survivorship bias is at work, distorting the probability of success like cut glass.
See, when you look at all of these magazines that we love to read about successful people that are detailing the stories of their lives, or you look at books that detail the biographies of a business that has survived a hostile work environment, and these people look back and they tell you about the decisions that they made that led to where they are, you must be careful because they're looking backwards with the clarity of hindsight. And there's a great psychologist, his name is Daniel Kahneman, and he writes about this and he advises us to be very careful that when we think about following in the footsteps of these iconic businesses that have these sort of fairy tale existences in our culture, if you're thinking about following the steps of one of these businesses and sort of going one by one through their decisions and mimicking them, he suggests that what you do is at first you go into their history and look at a point when they were just when they were just getting by, and see if anyone in that company could anticipate what was going to happen after they made this big decision that we now herald. Did they know how the company would unfold based off of what they were about to do? And he says that you will never see this. It never happens. Because what happens is when these people tell their stories, when they go back and tell their biographies, they're seeing in the moment certainty when at the time there was really only chaos. So the great lesson from survivorship bias is that the advice business is a monopoly run by survivors. That means that they can't tell you what you ought not to do, what you shouldn't do. They don't really even know themselves most of the time, even though it may feel that way. So if you base all of your knowledge about how to do things off of the super successful, or you pore over books that detail the histories of companies that shook the planet, your knowledge of the world will be extremely biased and enormously incomplete, because
you start a business and you start to talk about somebody, you're never in a vacuum with no competition, unless you're just extremely lucky. And if there's going to be competition, that means somebody else knows your business as well as you do when you get started. And if you walk into a competitive environment and they still know more about the business than you do and more about your customers, you're going to lose. But most people don't consider that. They don't do the work. They don't learn more about their industry. They don't know even about their business. And so you've got to put in the effort to know more about your industry than anybody else. And that's the brains part, and that's the effort part as well. Because look, if you're competing with me, you better know what you're doing, otherwise I'm going to kick your ass, and you're not going to outwork me.
So in conclusion, survivorship bias hinders you from putting enough work to get ahead of the competition. It also gives you an incomplete knowledge of your field. If you like this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I will catch you for the next episode.